Opportunity to be here tonight to join with my colleagues for this special order. Over the past 3 years, the House Agriculture Committee has been diligently working on the next Farm Bill, which sets agriculture and food policy for our nation every 5 years. As Chairman of the House Agriculture Subcommittee on Nutrition, I'm pleased that we can discuss this important topic tonight, nutrition. And I want to thank Chairman Conaway for his great leadership and commitment in putting forward the best farm bill possible. Tonight we're here to talk about the nutrition title, specifically the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, which we used to call food stamps. SNAP accounts for 80% of spending in the Farm Bill, and it is an important safety net for low-income families to help ensure that no one in America goes hungry when times get tough. Far too many Americans are living in poverty, and many have been for generations. There's no worse feeling for a parent than to see your child go without something as basic as food, yet food insecurity exists for so many. That's why, since 2015, the Nutrition Subcommittee has hosted 21 hearings on SNAP, has heard from more than 80 witnesses on how we can improve the program and work to end hunger in America. In fiscal year 2017, SNAP provided 42.2 million Americans with food benefits at a cost of $63.7 billion. That's nearly 21 million households, Mr. Speaker. In my district, Pennsylvania's 5th Congressional District, nearly 35,000 households received SNAP benefits for fiscal year 2015. 30% of those homes have one or more people over the age of 60, and nearly half, 45.9%, of those homes have children who are under the age of 18. What this Farm Bill does is ensure that SNAP benefits continue to be available for those who truly need the help, especially children, seniors age 60 and older, and the disabled, who represent nearly 2/3 of the program participants. Unfortunately, though, many Americans may not have the skills necessary to find a family-sustaining job or may have encountered roadblocks while trying to get ahead. This new Farm Bill makes a historic investment in work programs so SNAP recipients have a chance to learn new skills and climb the rungs on the ladder of opportunity. Now, this investment will equip states with resources to arm participants with the soft skills, job search skills, certifications, and education needed to succeed in today's economy, truly on-ramps to opportunity. Now, we have a unique opportunity to expand funding and resources for these life-changing programs by closing loopholes and improving opportunities for individuals who have been marginalized by a lack of employment, education, or quite frankly, life circumstances. By doing this, SNAP can provide immediate food assistance in the short term, while also helping those in need learn skills to help them permanently escape poverty. Now, let me be clear, we're not removing anyone from receiving the SNAP benefits. What we are doing is providing the tools necessary to help individuals escape the cycle of poverty. Now, I believe that there are many pathways to success in life, and sometimes we do need that critical safety net to help to take care of our families and help us get back on our feet. And with a rebounding economy and an increased focus on workforce development, I know we're going to be able to open new economic doors for many, because all Americans deserve no less. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to honored to recognize and to yield to the chairman of the Agriculture Committee, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Conaway.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for allowing me to talk this evening. Today we introduced H.R. 2, which is the Agriculture Nutrition Act of 2018. H.R. 1 was the tax bill, and so leadership, the Speaker in particular, believed that this issue was important enough that he gave us that rare opportunity to have a single-digit bill number. My colleagues will join us tonight at the microphone. We'll talk about more of the details. But 3 years ago, we began this quest to reform SNAP. We wanted to start with basically as blank a sheet of paper as we could get. We didn't want to be constrained by spending or resources. We just wanted to find the best policy we could possibly get to so that we would let us know our guidepost. We did that. We had it scored. It comes in at a budget neutral position, which is what our commitment to the broader conference was. We get that accomplished out of not only SNAP, but also with the rest of the title as well. We did 6 listening sessions around the country this past year. 300 plus good citizens stepped to the microphone to speak to members of Congress about what was on their heart, what was working with the Farm Bill, all aspects of it. I specifically remember a young woman who stood at the microphone, incredibly brave young lady, who said, "I'm the reason that SNAP needs to stay in place." She said, I was 18 years old, a single mother of a 3-year-old, and I didn't like my future, and I wanted to go to college. And SNAP and the other benefits that were available, her hard work, her sweat equity, but yes, our helping hand up allowed her to get a college education. She became an educator. She then got an advanced degree and is now in administration. And she said for her and her daughter, public assistance is now defined by what they do for other folks as opposed to what gets done for them. That's the success we want to drive. That's how we want to measure SNAP and all of our programs, is against a yardstick that says we want to give folks a helping hand up. We want folks to break that cycle of poverty. And I believe that the good policies we've put in place with the SNAP program that were released today, as people begin to understand what we're doing and begin to understand a bunch of the misinformation that's been in the public arena over the last several weeks about what we were trying to do, that will dissipate, and that our colleagues across the aisle and across both sides of the aisle will see the wisdom of what we're going to do with respect to SNAP. I am proud of the work that we've done. I'm particularly proud of GT Thompson's leadership the last year on our nutrition subcommittee. He has done incredibly good work, and I'm looking forward to he and my other colleagues continuing this process. The bill we introduced today is a work in progress. It is not what will get to the president's desk, but we are excited about the process of marking it up in committee, coming to this House floor, having those fulsome conversations with our colleagues about what's working, what's not working, and then getting this to the president's desk once the Senate does their work. So a great step for the Ag Committee today. I'm proud of the work we've done and look forward to work with my colleagues to get this even further along the path. And with that, I yield back to my colleague from Pennsylvania, the chairman of the Subcommittee on Nutrition, GT Thompson. Thanks,
Chairman,
GT.
thanks again. Thanks for your leadership. Thanks for leading what has been one of the most transparent processes. The amount of hearings that we've had, over 20 hearings just on nutrition, 80 witnesses, job well done. You know, there's a saying that I think we've always heard it, what is it, the doctor knows best. So I'm pleased to recognize another member of the Agriculture Committee, a physician who really understands health and healthy nutrition, Dr. Marshall from Kansas.
Well, thank you for the gentleman from Pennsylvania for yielding me some time today to speak on one of my favorite topics. Perhaps I look at the importance of SNAP through a different set of lenses than some of my peers have said among me. I spent nearly the last 30 years as a physician counseling and advising expecting moms. Starting a family is a special and scary time for many of my patients. Almost all of them would come to me with a list of questions and problems. And despite all the variety of their concerns, many could be solved with proper and improved nutrition. SNAP assisted many of my patients in providing nutrient-dense foods for my mothers and children. The importance of nutrition in the weeks prior to conception, during pregnancy, while breastfeeding, and within the early years of infancy can never be overestimated. In the United States, 1 in 8 people identify as being food insecure. To put that into perspective, of the 5,000 babies I delivered, 625 of them are food insecure today. The thought of this alone weighs on our hearts and makes them heavy. And that's why I'm so proud of this Farm Bill's nutrition component and why we work so hard to get it right. Our Farm Bill increases nutrition education, incentivizes our SNAP recipients to make healthier choices, and increases access to nutritious foods. And for those people who live in our nation's food deserts with limited access to grocery stores, we thought about you too. We have to incentivize retailers to want to invest in these underserved communities. That's why we have extended and improved the Healthy Food Financing Initiative that gives grants to retailers to open businesses in areas that lack access to healthy foods. So I ask you today, how could anyone vote against a bill that looks at the food insecurity problem in this country from so many angles through the eyes of so many people? And we all know that food is health, and that truly we are what we do eat. And this bill will help all Americans become more healthy and to stay more healthy. And that's why I'm so proud to support this bill and look forward to its passage, getting it on through the Senate and onto our president to decide. Thank you, and I yield back my time.
Well, I thank the gentleman. Thanks for being part of the special orders. This is a bill that was, all these hearings that we had were all bipartisan, great bipartisan input in the hearings, and there's nothing in this nutrition title that really hasn't come out as a part of those hearings. In fact, I know my colleagues, my friends across the aisle are Democratic members of the the committee, which I've been so honored to work with and be a part of these hearings. They submitted specific priorities for the nutrition title under Title IV, and I'm proud to say that all those priorities actually are included within this farm bill. So now I'm pleased to recognize a friend of mine who's also part of our leadership with the Agriculture Committee, a subcommittee chairman from the 1st District of Arkansas. Chairman Crawford, I yield the floor to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you, GT, for doing such a great job on this. I know you've worked really, really hard on it. And we've talked about the number of committee hearings that have been dedicated to just nutrition. That's because the nutrition title of the Farm Bill accounts for about 80% of the total authorization. So it's really important that we get it right. So I rise today to express support for Agriculture and Nutrition Act, specifically the improvements that we're making here in the critical nutrition title under the leadership of my friend Mr. Thompson, who's done a fantastic job. Currently, there's a loophole related to heating and cooling allowances that's often used to artificially increase SNAP benefits. States are given the flexibility under this new bill under the previous iteration of the SNAP program to use the standard utility allowances for heating and cooling to ease SNAP administration. Households automatically qualify for the SUA if they receive low-income heating and energy assistance program. It's called the LIHEAP program if they receive payments from that program. States, in order to increase SNAP benefits, provide LIHEAP payments of just greater than $20 minimum threshold, allowing households to qualify for the SUA, thus increasing the SNAP benefits the household receives, even though the household may not have actual heating and cooling expenses. Our bill requires demonstrated heating or cooling expenses in order to receive a standard allowance for such expenses. We basically remove the automatic availability of the SUA for heating and cooling and ask that households demonstrate actual utility costs to receive the state-determined SUA. Note that we exempt the elderly from that requirement of documentation, so we want to make sure that people understand that they are not being adversely impacted. My home state of Arkansas is already demonstrating how to implement this practice. In our state, we currently require folks who want to be a part of this program and by extension eligible for SNAP to demonstrate that they in fact have utility bill expenses. This reform will take what my state is doing and implement it across the entire nation and ensure that SNAP's initial purpose of helping those who need this program the most is being achieved. Much of the frustration of my constituents and many folks across the country has been about the explosion of enrollees in programs who, quite frankly, don't really need the benefits in the first place and are deemed eligible through an administrative shortcut. It's my hope that more states will see this the same way that my home state of Arkansas does and realize that federal resources are not infinite, and being responsible stewards of this program serves those who need the serving the most. And if we enact this reform, they'll always be taken care of. And I want to thank the chairman again for his steadfast leadership and his diligence in all the hearings that we've had over the last 4 years. And with that, I will yield back.
I thank the gentleman. Thank you for being a part of this. And the important special orders tonight were because nutrition matters and farmers feed. And I'm pleased to recognize another part of our agriculture committee leadership from the state of Illinois. He is the chairman of the Biotechnology, Horticulture, and Research Subcommittee. Actually did a great job yesterday convening a briefing where he brought in 4-H leaders from all over the country to share their experiences as a part of that great organization. And so I'm pleased to yield to Congressman Davis from Illinois 13.
Well, thank you very much to my colleague from Pennsylvania, Mr. Thompson, and also to all of the colleagues that I see on this floor who are part of the Agriculture Committee team. Man, we are a team, and a team that I got to watch work 4 years ago together to pass a bill that the Congressional Budget Office said was only going to save taxpayers $23 billion in mandatory spending. As a matter of fact, that was the largest single spending cut that was projected in my entire freshman term. Well, they come back over the recent weeks and told us that they were wrong. Those savings have actually been $111 billion in mandatory spending. This is why good policies matter. And the bill that we introduced today is an example of good policies that save taxpayer dollars, but just as importantly, it helps American families who are trapped in a cycle of poverty. They suffer from food insecurity and depend on SNAP to feed themselves and their families, and some of these men and women are capable of working, but they lack the access to adequate skills training to obtain a job that provides meaningful income and a chance to improve their family's future. We want to change that. Just like we wrote good policy 4 years ago, we've written good policy again because we are going to change that by shifting the anti-poverty conversation from one purely focused on benefits to one focused on helping someone climb the economic ladder and developing a strong workforce. We have created a streamlined, simplified work requirement paired with meaningful investments in workforce training. This Farm Bill requires and funds sufficient education and training slots, guaranteeing access to all SNAP participants subject to being able to work. And we've modernized the components of SNAP employment, education, and training to include assessment and case management, include additional options like supervised job search, apprenticeships, time-limited volunteer work, subsidized employment, and financial history. Last week, Caterpillar in Decatur, Illinois, hosted an event to recruit more welders and machinists. They have jobs available, but not enough people are trained to fill these skilled jobs. I visited the Bridgestone tire plant in Bloomington, Illinois last week, and I heard the same thing. Jobs are available, but no one to take them. Our economy is growing, jobs are growing. We must do more to get people the education and training that they need to take these available skilled jobs and help themselves and help their families. And thank you again to my colleague from Pennsylvania, and I yield back.
Well, I thank the gentleman for his leadership and for joining us here this evening. The Agriculture Committee, one of the things I really love about the Agriculture Committee is, quite frankly, what we do. I mean, everyone eats, and nutrition matters, and our Agriculture Committee is represented by members from all over the country, and including Tennessee. And so I'm pleased to yield to another member of the Agriculture Committee from Tennessee's 4th Congressional District, Representative Scott DeCharlet.
Well, thank you, Congressman Thompson. We really do appreciate your leadership on this issue. You're passionate about it. You spent so much time and effort to get this right, and it's really rare in this country where you can get so many people to come together, especially in these times, and agree on one thing. But when it comes to work-capable people between age 18 and 59 contributing to the workforce, about 80% of Americans agree on this. This is across the aisle. This is Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. And I'm telling you, it's hard to get people to agree on anything. But this is just such a common sense, humane thing to do. I don't fully understand who the 2 in 10 are that would disagree with this. Maybe they're people that are not working that are able-bodied. But at any rate, this is something that is designed to help lift people from poverty, break the cycle of debt, and get people to work and feel good about themselves. I would urge everyone listening to call their representatives and their senators and urge them to support this farm bill because it is well thought out, the time is right, the jobless claims are down in this country, yet there are people all over our districts that are clamoring to us about the lack of skilled workers. All throughout Tennessee's 4th District, there are people asking me, how do we get people to come and work? And here's a solution, that we have people that can go out and get good paying jobs, break the cycle, they're able to work, they're capable of working, but for some reason just haven't re-entered the workforce. And frankly, our government has made it too easy for people not to work. They've made it too comfortable. We've been bad parents. It's time to do the right thing. We all need to contribute to this country. We have record debts, and getting people back to work is the answer. But when you hear folks that are opposed to work requirements for people that are able-bodied, I just would ask you to ask them why. It does not help their self-esteem, it does not help their country, it does not help their families, and what we're offering here is an opportunity to work 20 hours a week. If you are still in need of assistance, you will get it. If you don't have the proper training, this will allow you to get training. We're making this mandatory, so either you're going to become a part of the workforce, you're going to be trained to become part of the workforce, workforce, or you're simply going to choose not to work. And in that case, you might lose your food stamp benefits. But that's the whole point of this, is to help people make the right decision, make good choices. And again, 80% of the country agrees with this across the aisle. So there should be no real controversy, GT, on this. There should be no reason that people don't want to support this bill. It's the right thing to do. It's the right time. There's jobs available. And it's just simply a matter of people breaking that cycle, getting out, contributing, feeling good about themselves again. And I really can't understand why we have opposition to this great piece of work you put together. And it's great that it's coming in the form of the Farm Bill. So, I stand in strong support of this, and I'm grateful for your work and the work of so many on the committee and the members and the staff to help get people in the right place, back to work, and still protecting and preserving the safety net program that's vital for so many people.
Well, I thank the gentleman. Thanks for being a part of the Agriculture Committee. Thank you for your great work on behalf of the folks in Tennessee.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Yeah, as the gentleman from Tennessee was saying, what we're talking about is, the part of the nutrition title is really looking at making improvements with it. We're not really doing anything to people. We want to do things for people, and quite frankly, for 65% of the folks who find themselves in a situation where they're on the SNAP program or Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, I don't want to say nothing's going to change, but it's just going to get better. We're going to get them greater access to healthy foods, and 65. Those are 65% of the folks that are under the age of 18, that are over the age of 65, or living with a disability. And so for the 35% that find themselves on this program, usually for temporary times, it's because of financial situations. And that's their number one need. They're unemployed, underemployed. Maybe they've been living in poverty for generations. And yes, we want to provide that safety net for food, but we want to provide them actually an on-ramp to opportunity, as you talked about. And we don't force anybody to do anything. If you are able-bodied and you fall within that category, that age of 18 to 59, and I guess if you don't want to take opportunity for that job training, well, then you can self-select out of the SNAP program. But why would you want to do that? We actually, what we're investing in education and training, we're actually we're guaranteeing a training slot in every state. We're providing the support to the states to be able to do that, to provide, most importantly, I think, case management. Because case management, you're a physician as well. I'm a rehab therapist and I'm a former manager in rural hospitals, and case management plays an important role, helping lead people through the process when they have a time of need, and that's what this bill does. So from Tennessee to New York, we really pleased to yield to another member of the Agriculture Committee representing New York's 19th, Congressman Faso. Welcome. Thanks for being a part of the discussion tonight.
Well, thank you, Mr. Thompson, and I first want to thank GT Thompson, my colleague from Pennsylvania, our subcommittee chairman on the nutrition subcommittee, for his leadership. GT Thompson deeply feels about the condition that people have who may be living in poverty, who may have suffering from food insecurity for themselves and their family. And I can say, Chairman Thompson, it has been a pleasure to serve for the last 15 months under your leadership on the Nutrition Subcommittee. The reforms that we're seeking to implement in H.R. 2 in the SNAP program in this 2018 Farm Bill are truly intended to assist people out of dependency and into employment. I have heard from so many employers throughout my district in the Catskills and Hudson Valley and in central New York that they have jobs available, but they simply can't find qualified people to meet those jobs and to fulfill those responsibilities. In fact, this morning in the Budget Committee, we had the director of the Congressional Budget Office before us, and one of the topics that was raised was the fact that there are very low workforce participation rates among people, able-bodied people between 18 and 65 in our nation. And this is part of the problem. We have a workforce participation rate nationally of approximately 63%. A number of the counties that I represent in the 19th Congressional District in New York State, that workforce participation rate for able-bodied, employable people between 18 and 65 hovers at 60% or slightly below 60%. There are plenty of jobs that are there, but unfortunately people do not have the skills, the training, sometimes the work ethic, and the notion of what it means to get up and go to work every day and meet the need of that employer and customers of that employer. So this is a real serious issue in our country. And if we're going to deal with the looming fiscal crisis that we have for mandatory spending programs like Social Security and Medicare, for instance, we need to get more people in the workforce. We need to create more opportunities to give people a hand up and not simply a handout. Now, one of the things that is truly important about the SNAP reforms that Chairman Thompson and Chairman Conaway are leading the way in H.R. 2 on in this 2018 Farm Bill is we are going to make it easier for people who are on the SNAP program to qualify for the program without having every nickel of any asset that they possibly have to count against their qualification. So for instance, this legislation will allow a family on SNAP to have a savings account of up to $2,000 without that counting against the asset test. Today, that simply isn't the case. So a family that might need money for fixing their car or having their kids go to the orthodontist or the dentist or some other kind of family emergency to buy a washing machine, for instance, they're not even allowed under SNAP asset test rules to have a $2,000 savings account. That's wrong, and it's simply an outmoded notion that we have precluded that. The other thing that I think is very interesting in this proposal, in this reform proposal, is that we're going to raise the asset test on a value of an automobile from about $4,650 to $12,000. I represent a rural part of upstate New York. My district is larger than the state of Connecticut. Many times people have to drive 40, 50 miles one way to get to a job. Well, we can't expect someone who's struggling with difficult economic circumstances for them or their family to be able to qualify for SNAP and have an asset of a vehicle, which they need desperately to get to work every day. We can't have that asset limited to a $4,600 vehicle. So this legislation, which Chairman Thompson and Chairman Conaway are spearheading, would raise that vehicle asset test up to $12,000. So these are logical, rational things. That asset test has been at $4,650 for many decades now. And so these are the kind of common sense reforms that are contained within this proposal that I hope our colleagues on the other side of the aisle will pay heed to and carefully study, because we welcome their input in this, but we also know that the American people are demanding that we have reform in these programs and that we encourage and we really bring the job opportunities and the job training counseling to people who are dependent. There are over 3 million people in the SNAP program today who are able-bodied adults who are capable of working between 18 and 59, who have no children at home. And we know that in today's economy, many, many parents and many Americans go into the workforce with minor children at home. And they're out there working, they're out there pitching in, trying to improve the lot for themselves and their families. There is absolutely no reason why an able-bodied adult with no children whatsoever should not be in a work program, should not be required to participate in a state-sanctioned, state-supervised employment counseling and training program. So these are the things that we're trying to do. Increase opportunity, obviously reduce fraud and people who might be benefiting from the program, who might be working off the books somewhere but still qualifying for benefits. But that's not the main impetus here. The main impetus is how are we going to create more opportunity for people who need a hand up in the economic ladder. And Mr. Chairman, I just want to say thank you so much for leading the way on this. We had numerous hearings and listening sessions, including one in my district in Schoharie County at SUNY Cobleskill. and the overwhelming consensus in dealing with the food stamp or SNAP program is that we need to keep it. We need to make sure that people who are on it who are able to work have the opportunities and are certainly encouraged to move into the workforce. Mr. Speaker, I would also like unanimous consent to add to the record at this point an article which I wrote in the Albany Times-Union, which appeared on April 9th of 2018 about the SNAP reform and the need to include healthy measures for food, but also enhanced work requirements. So I ask unanimous consent that be included in the record. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Without objection, so ordered.
Well, I thank the gentleman. And the timing is just good for our approach here, isn't it? I mean, we have an economy where we do, for the first time maybe in 10, 15 years, we see wages rising. We see job creation. Even before this, this most recent economic surge, I guess, for lack of a better word to call it, it's estimated there's 5 million jobs that are open and available in the United States, and these are jobs that most of them do not require a 4-year degree or a 6-year degree. These are jobs that require some skills-based education, maybe a certification, a specialization. It's kind of perfect with what we're looking at, and one of the things that some confusion that's out there. Some people say, well, this is creating a brand new level of bureaucracy. Well, I know for a fact the people I serve with here wouldn't go for anything that's creating more bureaucracy. The fact is we're actually taking advantage of first of all, the Workforce Investment Opportunity Act, WIOA. That's our career links. That's where people go today if they're unemployed or underemployed to be able to get a job. That's where employers look to find qualified and trained employees. And so we're going to be able to utilize that existing infrastructure. But community colleges, apprenticeships, private companies that want to engage in training. There's a lot of opportunities out there for this. I'm pleased now to recognize another absolute friend and leader of agriculture. She is a former teacher, chairs our Values Action Team, which I'm proud to be a part of, and represents the 4th Congressional District of Missouri, Representative Vicki Hartzler.
Well, thank you so much, Chairman Thompson. I appreciate so much your leadership on this to provide just a wonderful, wonderful program to help people have that on-ramp to opportunity. But I also appreciate your heart because I know in the meetings and the opportunities I've had to have conversations with you how much you care about people, and you have provided that care to many people. And this is just a wonderful package. You mentioned that there's community colleges are going to be involved in this. I just had one of my community colleges in my office this afternoon, and we were talking about this very proposal, and they are so excited about this because they were emphasizing the point that so many of my colleagues here tonight have made, in that the businesses and the manufacturers in my district and everywhere across this country cannot find enough skilled, able people who can fill these jobs that are out there. And they were sharing, the salaries are really good. Really good. As I visit with some of the manufacturers, they'll say a welder can start at $60,000 or a truck driver can start at $60,000 or $70,000. I was a teacher. I went into education, and I have a bachelor's degree and then went on to get a master's degree, and when I was teaching I never got near close to that. And so there is so much opportunity out there. There's such a need, and that's why I'm excited about the plan that we have here to help expand the current program we have to give the individuals the personalized training that they need to be able to connect with a job. It is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. As has been said, as you said, 5.9 million jobs sitting there waiting for individuals, and yet we have people at home right now who want to fill them. They just don't have those skills, so we're going to provide that. I wanted to share a little bit about what we have done in Missouri so far with this program. The SNAP Employment and Training in Missouri is operated as a partnership between the University of Missouri Extension, community colleges, and local job boards. MU Extension provides the most extensive interactions with each applicant by providing a coach, training, and wraparound services to support the individual in building the skills necessary to fill open positions in Missouri. And those have included and are including nursing, over-the-road trucking, warehouse logistics and management, welding, just to name a few. MU Extension's niche component is coaching, helping those with the most barriers like homeless, lack of transportation, or have no high school diploma to gain the necessary skills to fill the jobs in their community. MU Extension has focused their efforts on short-term certificate programs or vocational programs to ensure success of those who may not have been successful in the past and who face the greatest challenges to education and employment. This intensive coaching led to a 96.6% graduation rate for those participants completing training last year. Those individuals who secured employment reporting make annualized salaries between $20,800 and $93,600. Can you imagine going from being on public assistance, having SNAP in order to be able to feed your family, going through this program and getting a job with $96,000 a year? I mean, that is exciting. People are excited about this. Recently, I had the opportunity to sit down with one of the participants of this program, and his name is Joe. After spending 10 years in prison, Joe knew he needed a new start, and he signed up for an HVAC program using the SNAP employment and training funding. Joe today is working full-time, and he gets great reviews from his employer. He no longer needs any federal benefits, and he has the confidence and skills needed to be a productive member of society. So this bill, the 2018 Farm Bill, provides this unique opportunity to expand funding for these life-changing programs to ensure all SNAP recipients have access to education and training resources, not just some, all of them will have access to this training so that they can secure employment. A major increase in the SNAP employment and training funding will provide states with the vital resources to help their residents break the cycle of poverty. Smart, common sense reforms can produce great results, like the story I met with Joe, and we can break the cycle of poverty. SNAP employment training currently being implemented across Missouri now can be expanded everywhere. So by supporting this enhanced employment and training program, we are augmenting someone's future by supporting them in achieving their goals. Jobs are available, the need is great, the time for action is now. Let's help families make their dreams of self-sufficiency a reality. I yield back.
Well, I thank the gentlelady for her enthusiasm for this, and congratulations to Joe. Actually, that's a great story. That's difficult.
He was a great guy.
You know, he was someone who was incarcerated. That's difficult to overcome.
Yeah.
But we, through the programs, you gave a great example of how that occurs. You kind of contrast that also with what Mr. Faso from New York was saying about those cliffs, what I refer to as poverty cliffs, who, you know, we try to incentivize folks to do better for themselves, but we're making improvements, because right now, the way the program is now, like most of our programs like that, you make $1 more than a limit, an arbitrary limit, and government pulls the rug out from underneath you. And the fact that we're going after some of those, how much assets you can have, and the value of your car. I mean, the folks that are most at risk, they need reliable transportation. I'm just really proud that we're addressing all that. So thank you for being a part of this. Now going to be joined, yield to a great member of the Agriculture Committee from North Carolina's 7th Congressional District, a man I'm proud to serve with, Congressman David Rouser.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a great honor to be here with you tonight, and just really commend you for your great leadership on this issue. This really, really is a great, great bill. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly referred to as SNAP, as we all know it, is a nationwide food assistance program that provides a nutritional safety net for low-income families and individuals who meet certain eligibility requirements. Now, I think the vast majority of Americans would agree that if you work, you should be better off than if you don't work. Our Farm Bill makes common sense reforms to ensure that recipients of these benefits, those who are perfectly capable of work, have a pathway to upward mobility, can get good jobs, and ultimately can use their God-given talents to achieve a very rewarding career. That's what this is all about. As we drafted this farm bill, we stayed focused on providing those who find themselves in unfortunate circumstances the ability to lift themselves up, the ability to succeed and contribute to society. Another aspect of the Farm Bill I want to highlight is in the nutrition title as well, provides assistance to low-income seniors through the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. This vital program increases the consumption of good quality food by expanding, developing, and aiding in the development and expansion of domestic farmers markets, roadside stands, and community-supported agriculture programs. It does so by providing seniors with coupons that can be exchanged for eligible foods, such as fruits, vegetables, honey, and fresh-cut herbs. Mr. Chairman, these are just a few of the common sense reforms included in the 2018 Farm Bill, among many, many more. I hope that my colleagues on both sides of the aisle will take the time to really study and understand what these reforms will mean to our farm families, rural America, and the upward mobility created for those individuals and families in this country who need a helping hand. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I thank the gentleman. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to ask unanimous consent before I introduce our next speaker to submit for the record two articles that actually came out today. I think we're going to see many coming out in favor of this proposed farm bill, and specifically the nutrition title. This first one was from USA Today, entitled "Food Stamp Work Requirements Will Lift Americans Out of Poverty," by our own Agriculture Chairman Mike Conaway, and he was joined by Lee Bowes, who is the CEO of America Works of New York, which is a training and placement company, and also an article that was published in the Wall Street Journal. It's entitled "Working on Food Stamps, a House GOP Reform That Would Help the Able-Bodied Get Off the Dole." With unanimous consent, please.
Without objection.
Thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce another great leader within the Agriculture Committee, a man I've been really pleased to serve with. He's been a friend, he's been a Bible study buddy of mine. He represents Georgia's 8th Congressional District. Actually chairs the Subcommittee on Commodity Exchanges and Energy, Congressman Austin Scott.
Well, I want to thank you, my colleague. And as we've talked a little bit about, the question is, how do we help people get off of the government programs? Not kick them off, but give them a path off of the programs. And I think one of the things that has not been talked about enough is the fact that the current system is a trap. And the harder people work and the more they make, sometimes the less they have. And so what we've done in our farm bill that's coming up is to change the assets that a household can have and remain on the SNAP program until they graduate off of the SNAP program. And so current law, households with an elderly or disabled member could not have counted liquid assets above $2,250. Households with an elderly or disabled member could not have liquid assets above $3,250. These dollar limits should have been annually indexed for overall inflation and then rounded down to the next $250. But our bill raises the asset limits for an eligible household from $2,250 to $7,000. I want to say that again, $2,250. That asset limit is raised to $7,000 for an eligible household consisting of at least one elderly or disabled family member. It moves from $3,250 to $12,000. We want people who are out there doing the best they can to have the ability to work hard, save some money, and continue to improve their lives. We also exclude in this legislation the first $12,000 in the value of any licensed driver's vehicle in a SNAP household from the applicant's assets for purposes of eligibility determination. For many people on the SNAP program, they have to travel a long way to work or to get groceries, and we want them to be able to have that vehicle to get them there, especially in rural areas like the 24 counties that I represent. So excluding these vehicle assets is another benefit that we give to people in helping them have that avenue to graduate off of the SNAP program. Our bill also permits SNAP applicants to maintain up to $2,000 in a savings account, and that's $2,000 that will not count towards the $7,000 asset threshold. So again, we're trying to help people who work hard, who do the best they can, be allowed to save some assets so that they're very comfortable when they graduate off of the SNAP program. One other thing I'd like to point out, resources of a household member who receives SSI or PA benefits, those benefits are excluded as well. So under our current farm bill, SNAP recipients are caught between a rock and a hard place. You work hard, you save a little money, you invest in a vehicle, and you get kicked off the program. You know, our farm bill actually fixes a lot of those things that people who want to graduate off of the SNAP program need fixed. So I'm very pleased to be a supporter of this bill, and I think that this bill moves the law in a great direction to help those people who are out there actually working and doing the best they can graduate off of the SNAP program. And these asset threshold increases, along with the incentives to work, I think move our legislation in a very good direction, and I'm looking forward to having the vote on the floor and supporting this. With that, I yield.
I thank the gentleman. Thank you for your leadership, and thanks for being a part of the special orders. Now I'm pleased to recognize a former chairman of the full Agriculture Committee. Obviously has a lot of experience in this area and with agriculture, and so it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce or to yield to the gentleman for the Virginia 6th Congressional District, Congressman Bob Goodlatte.
Well, thank you, Chairman Thompson. I really appreciate your organizing this special order, and I'm glad you picked this topic because we need to tell the story of what the great provisions are in this farm bill, but also how important it is to Republicans that we work with America's agricultural community to make sure that we continue to provide the safest, most abundant, most affordable food supply in the world. Americans today, right now, enjoy one of the lowest percentages of their average income being spent on food of any country in the world at any time in the world's history. Back when our country was founded, 90% of Americans lived on farms and basically produced enough food to just take care of themselves and then maybe have a little bit left over to sell to buy some implement for their family. And today, 2% of America's farmers do that. Of Americans provide all of that food and nutrition, including what goes into these important programs for low-income people. So making sure these programs are protected, but also making sure that they work fairly and honestly is the objective of this farm bill. I want to talk tonight about a program that helps get food directly into the hands of those who are in need in communities throughout the country, including in Virginia's 6th Congressional District that I've had the honor of representing. The Emergency Food Assistance Program, known as TFAP, is a federal program that helps supplement the diets of low-income Americans, including elderly people, by providing them with emergency food assistance at no cost. TFAP provides commodities to the states, who then distribute the food through local agencies like the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank and Feeding America Southwest Virginia in my district. This program is a good model of efficiency and allows state and local organizations to play a leading role in helping to meet the nutritional needs of those in their communities. Food banks are an existing strong network for food delivery to those in need. However, it's also important to note that many farmers often still have excess fruits and vegetables that go to waste. The solution is to establish a farm-to-food bank program, allowing states to enter agreements with farmers to procure this excess for distribution. And to achieve this, we are expanding funding in H.R. 2 for TFAP, using a portion of that increase for a farm-to-food bank program, a state-administered agriculture surplus clearance program that provides an inexpensive source of food for low-income families while supporting producers. I want to thank Chairman Thompson and Chairman Conaway for their hard work to ensure that TFAP remains a viable resource for American families. And again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your hard work and for organizing this opportunity to share some of the great things in this Farm Bill with the American people.
Well, Chairman Goodlatte, thank you for your leadership and your mentoring. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, can I inquire how much time remains?
The gentleman has 10 minutes remaining.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'm going to, I'll take advantage of that opportunity, and if we have some other members that come in, I will yield to them. You know, the nutrition title for me personally is important. When I was just starting out in life, I'd graduated from Penn State. I was working with people facing life-changing disease and disability, and married. We were pregnant with our first son, Parker, and so it was during that first pregnancy, and I was making, I think, maybe a whopping $8,000 a year working full-time, and there wasn't a time when we didn't visit my parents or Penny's parents, my wife's parents, where we didn't come back with a bag of groceries. You know, people do that. Families step in and they help. We did what we could, but we always came home with a bag of groceries. But we found ourselves WIC eligible. Now, the Women, Infant, and Children program is not under the Farm Bill. That's on the education and workforce side, and so. But you know what it was like. It was difficult, actually. It was embarrassing to be able to use that voucher, but it was important that Penny and her unborn son at that point, now a 30-some-year-old dad of 2 boys of his own, got the nutrition that they needed. So I have been there, and I've experienced that, and I know how important nutrition is. Nutrition title for me is, I kind of relate it to Mr. Speaker, what I say is the hardest, the worst part about living in growing up in a rural area, outside a small town, is that everybody knew your business. I'd be out playing with my brother and my sister, and if I did something wrong till I got home, Mom and Dad already knew about it. But the best part about living in that rural area, in rural America, is that everybody knows your business. I had a cousin about a month and a half ago, their house burned to the ground. It was a terrible fire. They were lucky to get out. They just barely got out of the house. And yet, as that fire was just breaking through the roof of their home, and the fire department, the volunteer fire department was on scene, they were surrounded by loved ones and friends and neighbors and strangers who were there to offer their assistance, whether it was their love, their support, money, clothing, whatever, all kinds of things. That's what the nutrition title is. The nutrition title is about helping neighbors in need, whether those neighbors live in the most densely populated city or whether they live back long country lanes. And so that's why I'm so really proud of the bipartisan work we've done up to this point, because there's nothing in this nutrition title in this Farm Bill that wasn't a part of all those over 21 hearings that we had. You know, there's some of the things that are in there, and in fact, some of the priorities that I enjoy working across the aisle in a bipartisan way. I dedicate myself to that, and so I was pleased to see my colleagues, my Democratic colleagues, who communicated their 4 priorities into this bill to the committee. And so their first one was to incentivize nutrition education and healthy eating through a continuation of the Food Insecurity Nutrition Incentive Program, or what we call FINI. And I'm pleased to report that the Agricultural Nutrition Act of 2018, that's what we're calling the Farm Bill, which includes the nutrition title, Title IV, it maintains the FINI program and enhances it with Technical Assistance Center, allowing for best practices and operations and delivery to be housed and used for current and future grantees. Additionally, the bill provides $275 million for FINI over the life of the Farm Bill, establishes a baseline funding of $65 million a year, allowing for expansion of opportunities to bring together stakeholders from the distinct parts of the food system to foster understanding of how they might improve nutrition and the health status of participating households and the people that live in those houses. Their second priority, which I'm pleased to report on, was to maintain, and I appreciated them putting this forward, it was important, to maintain our commitment to food banks with adequate funding for the Emergency Food Assistance Program. You just heard the former Agriculture Chairman, Mr. Goodlatte from Virginia, talk about TFAP. The Farm Bill increases TFAP funding for our food banks by $45 million. It originally was we've been funding it at $15 million. It goes to $60 million, and it directs $20 million of that in a very innovative way, that funding to establish a farm-to-food bank program in all states. It allows states to access agriculture surplus products directly from the farmers. The freshest of foods is the way I like to look at it. What a great enhancement, Mr. Speaker. The third priority I'm pleased to report on, it's a part of this Farm Bill, was that they communicate was to promote the use of cutting-edge technology to ensure that the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, retailers and recipients have a secure, reliable, and efficient benefit processing. The Farm Bill introduces a concept of a national gateway, which is a system modernization that gives USDA real-time oversight over the flow of transaction. It helps control costs. It allows USDA to develop more tools to ensure integrity, assist in controlling access to individuals' payment information, and sets the stage for USDA to handle future developments in payment technology. With that increase in accountability, it allows to identify in those rare instances where fraud and abuse may occur, to be able to identify that. And we incentivize states. The states are now able to, when they actually identify fraud, that they're actually able to keep a greater amount of that money that's recovered. Now, although it has to be reinvested back into the nutrition title, it's about to go for more program integrity, to make sure we're doing a better job of serving the needs of our neighbors who find themselves in those circumstances. And finally, the last one was to continue to encourage states to collaborate with business and education leaders to provide innovative employment and training solution opportunities and programs. That's what we've been talking about this evening largely. It's about the workforce solutions. This was put forward by my friends across the aisle that I'm proud to serve with, the Democratic members of the Agriculture Committee. This was their goal, and we were able to do that. We've provided significant attention and considerable investment were provided to improve SNAP workforce and education development services for recipients. I appreciate what they put forward as a part of this process, and I appreciate the fact that we've stepped up and we see this a part of the text of this Farm Bill. The updates to employment and training include best practices taken from beneficiary, industry, and state feedback. It includes interim education and training pilot reports. It partners with the workforce innovation opportunity work that are already in place across our communities, our counties, all across this great country. So it doesn't, and it heightens emphasis on public-private partnerships, and nutrition education also allows recipients to continue to receive a supportive suite of services to address both food insecurity and upward mobility. And that's what we're trying to achieve. We want to make families food secure, but we want to provide them access to the rungs on the ladder of opportunity. Mr. Speaker, we've also done something for populations very near and dear to my heart as the dad of an active duty soldier, and that is when individuals join the military later in life, they tend to enter with a spouse and a couple kids, and it's hard to support a family on a private salary. Most privates are usually 18, 19 years old. They don't have that family support, and they do fine. In fact, we just provided all of our military a 2.9% pay increase, the largest in over a decade. But for those who are joining later in life, it's difficult. And their families live off base, and they get a basic housing allowance to help pay for that. But in the past, basic housing allowance, 100% with no contribution, no assistance, counted towards their eligibility for the SNAP program. and they need that SNAP program to be able to make sure that their family gets support. We've addressed that by providing monies that would go toward an allowance, more or less, that would go towards to help them to be truly to be able to receive those benefits and to be eligible for the SNAP program. And so I'm just so thankful for really the good bipartisan work that we've done up to this point with all these hearings, over 100 hearings on the Farm Bill as a whole, over 20 hearings for the nutrition Title IV of this Farm Bill. We over 80 witnesses. There's nothing in this Farm Bill that didn't come out there. There was some rumors of something about a harvest box, which was a terrible idea. That is not a part of the Farm Bill. Never any intentions of including that as a part of the Farm Bill. And so, but I am appreciative to all the hard work that has gone into the bill, preparing this at this point. And I look forward to next week. Next Wednesday, we will be marking this bill up in the Agriculture Committee. And I'm pleased at the timing, too. Normally when we talk about reauthorizing the Farm Bill, we're 6 months, 12 months after it expired. Quite frankly, we can't afford to do that. The farm income has been down for 4 years now. And this total farm bill is so important to providing for a robust rural America. And that's important to every American, because without a robust rural America, you know, people everywhere, including the cities, will wake up in the dark, in the cold, and hungry, because that's what the people of rural America, those farm families, provide for each and every one of us. And so, Mr. Speaker, I really appreciate the opportunity to be joined by so many colleagues tonight on this topic. And I thank you for your attention, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back.